because if you check out like some of the aesthetics, okay, so if you check out some details, like you'll see the boxes everywhere, the crates that you would be breaking in the games. They're just scattered around like the garage, like Ratchet's garage, or just kind of in other general places. Like I think aboard the ship that they're on with all the Rangers and everything. Like aboard that, there's a couple hidden boxes. Like specifically, there's the wooden crates that you just get bolts from and such. Like in places such as Ratchet's garage, and then on the ship with the Rangers and all them, you actually get to see the crates, the specific crates that you would get your ammo from. So that's really cool. I really thought they were gonna do something with the TNT-looking Crash-esque exploding crates, but we didn't see those in the film. So I kind of wish they did have that, but that's just me. Point being, it looks very, 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 very spot on. Which of course is what you're gonna want if you're gonna have a Ratchet and Clank movie tie-in with the game. You're gonna want to look similar. It's not like Ratchet and Clank, the CGI live-action hybrid movie. That would have sucked, just because all those movies do suck. Not even video game movies that I don't even think, no video game movies have done that. But I mean, like just kids films that do that, they're not that great. So I'm glad that they didn't do that. And it's not like Ratchet and Clank are in the real world, and so there's a portal to the real world. So you couldn't even do that. That would just be fucking up everything. Like that would just be fucking up everything. So this story that they told is pretty good, considering they could have done that. And yeah, if not all, at least some of the writers of the game, of the reboot, and I think of the series in general that have worked on a couple of the past games, made it over to the film and wrote for the film. And we got to hear a little bit about that from TJ Fixman himself, because before he left Insomniac, because he was there with Neil Druckmann and all them during that whole LA thing when I went with Caleb and Weston. So I'm pretty sure we talked about that a little bit here and there. So that was really cool. The fact that the writers are here for the movie, so that's what I'm saying. Two of the biggest things. Okay, sorry for that cut, but the fact that these writers came back for this film, or worked on this film rather, from the games and all that, and it just feels very, very familiar to the games in general, not even just the reboot. Already, right there, speaks volumes as a video game to movie adaptation. Because what is the one thing, to certain extents, be them a little bit more smaller or extreme, what is the one thing that nearly every video game to movie adaptation, or just let's just call them video game movie, suffers from? They don't match the source material. Mario Brothers, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. And those are the main ones there because they're so infamously bad. But everyone's saying that this movie is just another one of those movies. And I'm like, what? No, not at all. This movie is not the greatest, because I will get into that a little later. Right now I'm just kind of gushing on like why this movie's pretty cool, and I'm just hitting all the points as they come. But where's I going with this? But to say that this movie is not faithful, which no one really is. Okay, so in hindsight, no one is saying that this movie isn't faithful to like the games, but I think they're more concerned with the writing, with the specific writing. The fact that these writers did come back, well, I keep saying come back, that they did contribute to this movie is cool. I'll get into the more intricacies of the writing in a little bit, because I think that's where most of the criticisms come. If not for the fact that, again, like I said, like 80 to 90% of this movie is the game. So I can understand, let me just say this right now, I can understand why people say that this is a pointless movie to have been made, because of how close it came out, and the fact that they were both being developed at the same time, this game and this reboot. But again, I'll get into that in a little bit. But let me just say, well, actually I'll get into it right now, but let me just say that this is a good movie in terms of a video game movie. Now in terms of a movie, we'll get into that. But I think we're slowly starting, from this movie should prove that we're starting to slowly take some baby steps into making some really good video game movies, because I love the visuals and all that. Like, I'm pretty sure I did say that, I hope I did, but if I didn't, I fucking love the visuals because of how close they are to the games. And right there off the bat, it's an animated movie. It's all CG, which is just the norm for kids films these days, but it's refreshing to see. Like I said, this is not a CGI hybrid movie, or this is not a live action, however they were going to do that, if that was ever a thing, you know, which of course there's no way you can do that, so why do that, but like a live action Ratchet and Clank movie, like a solely live action Ratchet and Clank movie, like, it's in the form of media in terms of like style that it needs to be in, which is CG, which is animated. Same thing should have happened, even though the technology was still primitive, it's still could have happened for something like the Mario Brothers movie from back then. And if they still make that Mario Brothers movie that we've been hearing rumors about in nowadays, it would probably do good. Probably. Again, it has to do with the writing and all that. But let me just stop rambling about that. Let's talk about the writing. And specifically by the writing, I mean the humor. So with the humor, it has that classic Insomniac, like, edgy kind of humor, and that's Ratchet and Clank, so they nailed that. But certain jokes were hit and miss. Like, I wasn't laughing throughout the entirety of the film, but because certain jokes were hit and miss. Like, there's a couple, which again, these weren't needed, and thankfully they didn't spend a whole lot of time on these kinds of jokes, and there weren't a whole lot of them. It was just 2, so thank God for that. But the more modern, you know, like, are you texting, or hashtag humblebrag, hashtag whatever, and he does, like, Captain Cork, like, names off a whole bunch of hashtags while sending a message to, I think, one of the other Rangers or something like that. Or, no, I think it was to Drek or something like that, but he uses hashtags. You just dated the film right there by doing that. You did not need to do that at all, but, like I said, it's only 2 jokes, and it's only those 2. They don't spend a whole lot of time on it, on them, so, it's passable, I guess, but really you don't have to, because you know, if you know me, I fucking hate those kinds of jokes. When it's a fictional fucking world like this, and you bring in modern things that the kids do because you need to do something that is going to attach to the kids, not this. I mean, come on, you're just gonna date the movie, and this movie is now kind of dated because they used that, hashtags, and that kind of lingo, but whatever. Again, I'm making it more of a big deal right now than it actually is. Those 2 jokes passed by like that, so thank God for that. But there's other kinds of jokes that get a little dragged out, and I was thinking to myself, by the second dragged out joke, I was thinking to myself, okay, end it here, end the joke here, end the joke here. And then when they cut to something else for like a brief minute in that second joke, and I'll say them specifically, but when they cut away to something else for a minute, and I'm like, okay, oh, finally. And then they cut back to it, and I was like, are you serious? This is still going on? Really? Come on now. That joke was over like 3 minutes ago or something. But, okay, so those specific jokes, and again, I can only think of 2, but those jokes were like, so Drek's like, you know, nothing can stop me now, my plans are working. And then he starts laughing, he does his, you know, every villain has their maniacal laugh, you know, whatever. But then his little robot guy, not Victor, but his littler robot guy, I forget his name, starts to laugh with him. And then they try to one-up each other in doing a maniacal laugh, and that goes on for longer than it needed to. And I think it was actually part of one of the trailers. And I was thinking the same thing, like, why is that joke there? Because it's kind of pointless, not really needed. The other joke that's kind of like that is when Captain Cork is trying to say a one-liner while taking on Nefarious, and he's like, really? That doesn't even make sense with the context of what we're doing. If you're going to come up with a one-liner, come up with one that's good. And they just start bantering back and forth about one-liners, and that joke goes on for longer than it needed to. And then they cut away to something else, I think to the Rangers, and I was like, okay, finally. And then they cut back, and they're still bickering, and I'm like, really? So, as you can see, though, I'm not really frustrated about that, but, okay, in the moment, it did kind of frustrate me. Right now, I'm just reminiscing on it, so I'm not exactly mad at those jokes or anything, but they really did need to get cut down. I feel like those jokes were there and were elongated to keep the time going, you know, just for time reasons, which does suck, but I don't know. There's only 2 like that I can think of right now, so. But for the most part, the humor was pretty good. You know, it was okay. It needed some improvement, you know, again, with the whole modernizing jokes and then the whole elongated jokes. Could have done without any of those, so. But for the most part, the humor is okay, and you will get some laughs. Like, I was laughing a little bit. I mean, I was more of chuckling throughout the film. I didn't get, there was something that did make me laugh. I forgot what it was. I forgot what scene it was, so it's pointless to bring up here in this video if I can't remember it, but okay, let's just say this. Without naming the specific scenes, because I can't remember them right now, there were at least 1 or 2 times where I did, like, laugh out loud. So, I did LOL. I'm not gonna, that was stupid. Okay, next point. Now, I forgot to mention this while I was talking about characters, but Ratchet and Clank's friendship needs to be discussed for the Ratchet and Clank movie. Now, again, because they're wanting to just establish everything off the bat, they need the introduction when they first meet. But after that, you actually don't see a lot of Clank in this movie, which is pretty unfortunate because, you know, it's called Ratchet and Clank, so you really want to see them work together. And the only reference they make to the fact that he's always on Ratchet's back, because he's never on Ratchet's back until this one particular, until like around the last act of the movie, I guess just to pay homage to the fact that he's always on Ratchet's back in the games. But I don't think he's even really used the way he is used in the games in this movie, because Ratchet has a jetpack, but then like that jetpack is there on his back, but then he also has Clank on his back. So he's flying with the jetpack, and Clank, that's just the way Clank's able to stay with Ratchet, is to be on his back, paying homage to the games. But but Clank's never actually used by Ratchet in the movie like the way he is in the games. So that was odd, because I thought, seeing that part in the trailers where he's telling about how uncomfortable and awkward it is to be on Ratchet's back, I thought that was going to lead, when we went to go see the movie finally, to him flying around using Clank as the jetpack. But now, unless I'm thinking of something a little different and I'm getting stuff confused in my head, from what I remember, Clank wasn't used like that, which he should have been. But that's the point I'm trying to make.